Welcome, everybody. My name is Jeff St Laurent. This is the Tuesday Live Show. And as you can see, I've got an awesome guest. Awesome guest. Can't wait to get to him. I'm going to bring him on in a second. I record all of these shows. I put them on my university at sellingcoaching.com. I help coaches transition to a full-time business. I got a ton of great resources there. Check out my university. Also, if you want to start off right on the homepage, you can enter your name and email. That's going to get you not only a great resource, which is launching your coaching business, the first 3 vital steps, but that's also going to put you in my community where you can get some great information from me on a weekly basis. But enough of that. Deryl Sweeney, welcome to the show, my man. How are you?
Dude, I'm great. Thank you. It is awesome to be in this space with you. This is great.
So Deryl came to me. I checked it out. It's 3 years ago, I think, this July. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So we can just say 3 years. And 3 years ago, and give us a little snapshot of where you were with your business and what brought you to this space where you're like, Jeff, Jeff, help me out. Like,
That's easy.
Yeah.
The business did not exist.
Right.
So I just, my goal was to be a full-time coach. I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. So this was the next thing for me, the next last thing I was going to do. I was on my IPEC journey and, I was to the point where it just felt like it was time. I want to say it was I don't know that I had finished my IPEC journey at the time. This is a weird time where COVID was hitting and things were going on. And I remember they pushed Mod 3 to virtual. So I was like, all right, it's time to launch the business. I just felt ready. I felt like it was something I wanted to do. And so I had been in your program within kind of the IPEC community. And so I had been exposed to your teaching, the videos that were there available to us. And you and I had a conversation and it just made sense for you to be the guy to help me figure out how to start this journey. And up until then, I had been playing with the website, playing with copy, thinking about logo, doing all the little things other than getting out there and launching the business. So that's where I was when you and I met.
Yeah. And how lucky am I to have the opportunity to work with you? And I say that super genuinely because you started off and it was just like, we have a conversation in the group or one-on-one. And it was just like, next time we spoke, whether it be a day or the week, it's like, it's done. What else, Jeff? Let's do this. And you just worked at it was I'll say a relaxed intensity.
Yeah.
How would describe you, right? Like people start to see you now for this first time. It's just, you're calm, you got a good pace about you, but there's a certain hustle you have and there's a certain intensity, but it doesn't come across as like frantic.
Yeah. It's funny. You talk about it being done. I remember our first call once I had engaged, once I'd enrolled with you. And in my mind, I was like, okay, I've made this decision. I've made this investment of time and money. I'm going to start the business. And on that very first call, you're like, here's what we're going to do. We're going to create a friends and family list. We are going to create an email. We're going to get out there and let me know how it goes on our next call. And I was like, holy crap. Like it just felt like, so you talk about me getting out there. It felt like you kind of kicked me out the door. Like I thought we were going to ease into it, but you kicked me out the front door and kind of left me with, let me know how it goes. You gave me all the tools to succeed and the path to walk. And there was nothing left but to do it. And that's what I needed at the time. I needed to get to that place where it's like, okay, there's nothing between where I am now and starting except to start. And the way you did it, like, I just have so much respect for you. When people ask me about our time together, I always say like, yeah, he got me started. He got me going because you did. It went from preparing for the journey to being on the path. And from that moment, from that first call you and I had, I've never gotten off the path.
You've never gotten off the path. We were on it and you dialed it in and you went. And yeah, I think there's this belief I have in everybody that everyone can do it. And if here are the tools and then start doing it. And then whatever comes up, we'll figure out how to get through it.
Yeah.
And that's what you did. So, but then you started coming back and it was like, I don't remember exactly. It's 3 years ago now, right? But it's like, call it week 3, whatever. Probably sooner than that. You're like, hey, I just got a client.
Yeah.
You're like, hey, Jeff, I just got another couple clients.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, and it wasn't like there was anything magic. Like you were doing the work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Talk about that, where the business started coming from, what you saw, like some of the work you were doing. Cause then obviously I want to take us to present day and over the years.
Yeah. Yeah. Back then, I mean, so, I know you share freely as I do. And like I said, one of the first things you asked me to do was to prepare this friends and family list. And I remember I was in a group with a couple other people. And I remember we all came back to you and you asked about the friends and family list. And I think, one person might have had 20 or 25, another person might have had 30. And I said, Jeff, here's my list. There's 232 people on it. And that was just my approach. My approach was when you talked about consistency, when you talked about how we're going to get this thing started, how we're going to let the world know what we're up to. I remember my attitude was, cool, I'm going to go through LinkedIn. I'm going to go through Facebook. I'm going to go through my phone. And anybody who I don't think will be pissed off of getting this email is going to get this email. And that was just my attitude. So that rolled into just a healthy curiosity to help me create conversations. My first client came from a guy where I thought we were just catching up. I was just telling him what I was up to in the world. And he asked, hey, do you think you can help me? Ironically, I'm still working with him to this day. And I now coach his entire team. So I coach 5 people that work for him now. So from that first email, so it was just creating those conversations, letting people know what I was up to in the world, sharing publicly through social media under your guidance, and just being active, just like you said, doing the work. I didn't know what I was doing all the time, but we started doing Facebook Lives similar to this. I started talking about the things I was passionate about, the things I was learning. And my gosh, looking back now, there's so much I didn't know, but I learned by doing, right? I didn't learn by reading. I didn't learn by researching. I didn't learn by watching other people do it. As a part of your program, I learned by doing it.
Yeah. And that's it. Like I can guide people, but until I can't actually work with you well until you do it. Like that's most of my program is like, I can start anyone off. I can give you structure out of the gates, but really where I can help the most is when you're doing the work.
Yeah.
Because there's not a whole lot beyond getting out there. Yeah. But you were, like you said, you had like, I'll put anyone and everyone in there and I'll start talking to people.
Yeah.
And you created conversations. It's actually really cool, Deryl, to hear that first client of yours, remember the conversation that we had, that you're still working with him 3 years later.
Yeah.
And now you're working with, what 5 team members of his as well.
Yeah.
And those are the stories that I think it's cool for people to hear, because you never know what this conversation is going to lead to and extrapolate to down the road. Yeah. Talk about now. So now you're in the business, we finish our work and you're like, all right, because at that time, you had a decent number of clients, you were all the components of the business, from the marketing side to the conversations to the actual, doing the coaching, you were there.
Yeah.
Talk about the last, 2.5 years or so since then, and the continued work, the highs, the lows, if there's any lows, just so the coaches that can start to see, where this has led you to now, because it's still only the beginning, right?
Yeah. Very much so. Very much so. I tell people that I feel like getting certified was all about kind of learning how to coach, right? And here's some tools and here's some skills, and you're going to sharpen those. You're going to learn how to coach. And then I felt like starting with the work with you, and that next year for me was figuring out the business of a coaching practice. And I really started focusing on the business. And then on the other side of that is when I feel like things really kind of went up a level, right? So like you said, I was filling my practice. I was working with clients. I was learning, and I was just so focused on the business that I stopped focusing on being a great coach. I was so focused on the next client, the next thing, and the next video, and somewhere along the way, it just kind of struck me that, hey, this is something I love doing. I want to develop mastery around coaching, and I want to build this business. I want to deeply serve people. And you've probably come across the book, The Prosperous Coach. I'd read that, and ironically, you didn't use prosperous coach language, but, getting out there, connecting, creating conversations, doing some of those things were what we were learning. And I read that book a second time, and it just hit home in a completely different way. And I am a proponent for coaching. One thing you'll get from me, Jeff, and the reason why I love doing this with you is because I'm such a stand for coaching. I've always had a coach. I did work with you. I went on, I've hired another coach. I've always been with a coach. And so it's just the path keeps going. We keep learning, we keep growing. And in that work, I really took everything you and I did together and have just continued to up-level it, It's not only creating a conversation, but learning the art of conversations. How do you take somebody and create a powerful coaching experience, one-on-one coaching experience? How do you, make a powerful proposal? How do you show up? And somewhere along the way in the Prosperous Coach, it was the first place the seed got planted to build a business really based on service. And that is just something that I've embraced ever since then. So I follow the Prosperous Coach approach where I connect with people, where once I connect with them and I genuinely connect. It's funny, I talk to other coaches and they always say, well, how do you get people from step 1 to step 2? I always say, well, I don't think about step 2 and step 1. Like if my goal is to connect, I'm there to connect with you. Now, along the way, if I see a problem I think I can help you with, a challenge you're working to overcome, or an opportunity to serve, then step 2 for me is that I invite them into something. I invite them into a powerful coaching conversation. Then I just do what I do. Then I just coach. I just show up and deeply serve them, not to create them as my next client, but to serve them, to help them with whatever thing they brought into the conversation. And then on the other side of that, if there's an opportunity to work together, we talk about what that looks like. So as simple as that sounds, those things which started with what you and I talked about, those things have created this business and allowed me to keep moving forward. So I've grown the business. I've changed, the structure of my coaching packages. I've gone from sessions to monthly retainers to 3, 6, and 12-month packages to apprenticeship, like all of these things. So when you talk about the downs, I don't know if they're downs, they're just learning. They're just things you figure out by being in the work. And at the end of last year, my fees have consistently gone up. And at the end of last year, I was doing well, but I realized I never had a full coaching practice. I never built it all the way out. And I decided that was my goal for Q1, to create a full coaching practice. And I will tell you, I had a conversation. This is big. I had a conversation with my coach at the time, and he said, I told him I wanted things to go faster. You and I had a lot of conversations about, hey, Jeff, I want things to go faster. And you would give me tools and pieces. So you're right. I'm not a loud scream in your face guy, but I'm always like, cool, what's the next level? What's the next level? What's the next level? Always. And you and I discovered several levels in our work together. And when I told my coach I wanted to go faster, he said, Deryl, faster is available to you, but you have to shift your thinking. You have to shift who you're being in the business. And I point to this moment in time because that was when he said the shift I had to make, and we talked about this, was I had to stop treating my business like a glorified hobby and start treating it like a business. And that struck me because, to your point, I'd always been in it. I'd always been doing the work. I'd always outpaced a lot of the people around me. And I was like, I am treating it like a business. When I really reflected on it, I realized that I was good at creating conversations, but I was only doing it when I felt like it. I was only doing it when it felt good. And if I'm treating this like a business, I'm doing the work regardless if I'm in the mood or not, right? If I was treating this like a job and I had a boss and he's in my door and saying, hey, it's your job to produce revenue. What are you up to today? Chances are I'm not going to look at him and say, yeah, I'm just not really feeling it right now, right? Like we'd have another conversation. So I saw that with me. And I came up with a metric. And I said, okay, how many conversations do I want to create a week? And for me, it was, I wanted to create 10 conversations a week that were either with a paying client or with somebody who could become a paying client. Now that meant I had to do all the work to create those conversations. Jeff, I still use the things we talked about. I still use video heavily in my business. Yeah. I still have built my email list. Like all the things you and I started still exist and became so important to me creating those 10 conversations every week.
Mm.
And when I look back before that conversation, I was creating about 5 a week because I was doing it when I felt like it. When I showed up every single day consistently, I was started to create 10 a week. And once I started to create those 10 conversations a week, fewer and fewer of those conversations became conversations with prospective clients and more became conversations with clients. Before this call, because I haven't been tracking the numbers the way I used to, I looked at my last week because I said, I'm not tracking it the way I used to. Now, my my practice is full. So I set out and said, I want to create 12 full-time clients. I'm at 14 right now with a few other proposals out there. I'm really going to stop at 15. I'm telling myself. Um,
Come
so
on.
these are full-time clients and I'm going to be building some other stuff out in the business.
Yeah.
But last week I looked at the numbers and I counted the number of conversations I'm having with paying clients and the number of conversations I'm having with prospective clients. And it was 15. So again, when you talk about the progression, I've literally taken the stuff you and I started and continued to play with it and mold it and shift it and use it in my business to create the business that I'm in today.
Yeah. When you said that you had that moment where your coach said that to you and you were doing the work, but you were doing it when you felt like it.
Yeah.
And then when you realize it's like, if this is an actual business, like I could be doing this whether I feel like it or not.
Sure.
That right there is the statement, because this can't be I do it when I feel like it or my energy's all perfectly aligned type of business.
Yeah.
And it will just be those types of results.
Yeah.
And I admire you for that, because that's having done that myself and also go through phases, admittedly, where it's just I'm doing it when I feel like it, right? You see the difference.
Yeah. And look, let's be honest. I think that's the brilliance of what you bring to coaches who want to start a full-time business. That's the brilliance of your program is you have a level of accountability where it's like, okay, I made commitments on things I'm going to do by the next time the group is together or I'm talking to Jeff individually. And we say we're going to do these things. And we didn't say, well, do them if you feel like, and we just said they were going to be done. So when you talked about, I always showed up, that was the structure and the brilliance of what you designed is, I wasn't showing up saying I didn't do the work or I didn't record the video or I didn't send the email, even though there were times I didn't feel like it. So it took another level of discipline when I didn't have all the structure in your program to figure some of those things out. But I think you're right. And for us to develop that muscle, like there's no better start than working with you. It's what it did for me.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate those words 100%. And it's so good to see the muscle you continued to develop. And that's what I loved what you're saying is like, it didn't stop there. It's like, all right, there's another coach.
Mm-hmm.
There's all these different aspects of the business, from the work of the coaching to the actual conversations to the evolution, right? I heard constant evolution with you in terms of serving. What do I offer? What are my package? What are my rates? There's a constant evolution and analysis of that.
Yeah.
And that never stops. Like now in going into my 20th year next year, it's the same thing, right? It's the same thing. And so I'd love to see you. Let's talk about, before we wrap this up, let's talk about DerylSweeney.com, your business and what you're doing so people can check you out and get into your community so they can see what you're doing firsthand. And I'll throw your website in the chat as well.
Yeah, man. I'd like to make a quick point about what you just said, because I think it's important, and I love that we're doing this, because one of the things that I've really seen is that there are a lot of great coaches out there. I know a lot of great coaches. There are not the number of great coaches that exist and the number of great coaches that know how to enroll clients and build a business. Like it's not the same number. Mm-hmm. So us having these kind of conversations, you consistently showing up like this and helping people continue on that path. I've never gotten off. I heard a quote and it was somebody said, the difference between the master and the student is that the master never forgets that he's always a student. So I still work with a coach. I've just enrolled in a coaching school that is not about learning how to coach. It's still learning how to build a business. My practice is full and I've just enrolled in a school and I'll be a part of that over the next 9 months to continue to sharpen those skills. So I'm just always in the work. And it's a blessing for my clients. You talk about what I'm doing now. My business, DerylSweeney.com is my website. I primarily am on Facebook and YouTube, or Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn. Check me out. Connect with me. You'll see the way that I write. You'll see the things that I share through video and the things that I'm doing out there. I'm about to take those videos that you and I started and rip the audio and make it a podcast, make it an audio podcast. So
Awesome.
another way to use the same content. I mostly work with executives, leaders, and entrepreneurs. I love the work that I do. I love getting to talk to people. I love seeing people shift who they're being in the world. People come to me all the time saying this is what they want to build. This is what they want to be. This is what they want to create for their business. Sometimes it's more revenue, more growth, a new location, a new city, a better team. They want to be a better leader. And I always tell them, I'm not interested in helping you double your revenue or launch a new location. I'm interested in helping you become the person, the guy, the gal who can double your revenue, who can lead your team, who can create whatever it is you want to create in the world. And there is nothing better than helping people create what it is they truly want to create. I believe we're all creators. And as long as we're always creating, we might as well get intentional about what it is we're creating, right? And I love your clarity around, I help people create full-time coaching businesses. Same thing with me. People come to me every single day and I dig in with them to say, what is it we want to create? And then how do we go to the work? How do we do the work of creating that? Who do we have to be in order to create the thing we want to create? And the results have been phenomenal.
Yeah. It's in my email that I put out for this, conversation today. One of the things I said in there is, hey, here's this guy. You might have seen it, right? Here's this guy, Deryl, and he's done all these great things. But I'm like, you got to watch him to understand why. You got to listen to understand why. And I get emotional because I'm just so happy to have been a part of your process, to be a part of your process, whatever that looks like in the future. But when you listen to you and you experience your energy, it's no wonder you're successful. Right. Yeah. But that's not an accident. It's just not like you're just not this guy, just like any other great athlete, performer, et cetera. Like the work they do, this starts to uncover the work that you do. But someone watching this, they should be like, of course he's successful. Mm-hmm. Of course. Yes, of course. And that's a delight to hear.
Yeah. Can I just speak to that? And I know we're running short on time. There's nothing that I'm doing or I've done that all of us can't do, right? There's nothing different or unique or special about me. And look, I'm uncommon. Like I embrace how uncommon I am. So that is not to say we're all the same, but we're all capable, right, of doing this in our own way. I've grown my business from an idea to over 6 figures over these last 3 years. Like I know where I'm going. I'm building a $500,000 coaching business. I'm not afraid to put it out there, right? You're a part of that story and that journey. And if I can do it, it's available to anybody watching this, anybody you coach, anybody I coach. Like this is available to us as coaches, right? We've all heard the stats about the average salary for coaches. Like we have an opportunity to create something different in this world by powerfully serving people. And if we show up, if we take ourselves out of it, if we powerfully serve, we will get compensated for it, right? So what I'm building, where this thing's going, and looking back, what a cool opportunity to look back on where it's been and how it all started. Like I am incredibly thankful for you to be a part of it. And I acknowledge you for reminding all of the people who may be earlier on their journey or haven't kicked this thing into high gear just yet, reminding them of what's possible by sharing stories like mine. I've seen the stories of your other guests, and by doing what you do, it's available to all of us.
Available. Yeah. And I appreciate you saying that, like acknowledging that, like, I'm not special, right? I'm not special, right? No one's special, but anyone can do this, but you've done the work. And that's why I think the biggest thing in closing is like, it's been 3 years. Yeah. That's no short amount of time. It's also, like you said, we're just the beginning, but also, say to me, 19 years, it's just the beginning.
Yeah.
If I'm 70, maybe it's not the beginning, but I'm 46, So, but the point is that it's available. Thank you for that, Deryl. Yeah. Anyways, thank you for everyone that's watching this or the recording, and Deryl, we'll be in touch. Because and as you get towards that other goal, guess what? You're going to be on here again, and we're going to talk.
Do it.
All right.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me. This was fun.
Thanks, everyone. Take care. Bye.